Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another 80s golden age of comedy. I have to tell you, nobody has a better time than me doing these shows. The people that I get to talk to and who get to go in depth about their careers somewhat before they made it, before the limelight came around, and the struggles that they work through makes this show, I believe, very different from any other show that's on any kind of broadcast, because people, comedians, actors, celebrities are sharing their innermost thoughts, their innermost fears sometimes, their innermost vulnerabilities as they move from being a total unknown against all odds to working their way up through sheer determination, sheer hard work. And that's what makes this show, 80s golden age of comedy, so different. And today, so exciting, because I have the guy who, other than one guy maybe back in the 50s or 60s, I have the guy that made ventriloquism what it is today. And anybody that's had success in that field of comedy, they know that they had the admiration and respect for my guest, Willie Tyler. I am so excited to have you on the show to learn about the history of comedy from your eyes, your point of view. Willie, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Pleasure to be here.
And I'm thrilled that we get to spend this time together. Willie, let's start right from the beginning. Tell me about childhood. Tell me about your family. And did your family have anything to do with you making your way in showbiz? Where were you born? Things like that.
Well, I was actually born in Alabama, and I went to Detroit. My folks moved to Detroit when I was 5 years old, and it was a situation where I come from a big family. Eventually it became 10 of us. It was 10 of us in the family, and 6 boys and three girls. And I went from a rural area. I remember growing up in a little rural town, in a town called Red Level. And we used to have kerosene lamps. We had an outhouse. When if you had to go to the bathroom, you went outside to the outhouse. And some call them honey wagons now. When you're doing movies, they call them honey wagons and stuff. And it was a situation where we had a fireplace. We didn't have heating. It was a fireplace. But basically, I moved to Detroit, and I grew up in Detroit and in the environment of a little area in Detroit there, many moons ago.
And so, how does someone growing up in a house full of 10 kids and parents, how does that move you towards comedy?
Well, it was a situation where when we got a television set, we got a black and white television set years ago, and it was back in the days when TVs had the rabbit ears. You know what rabbit ears, right?
Oh yeah.
It was the antenna on top of the TV. It wasn't cable. It was that you moved it around, you got the best reception. So when we got our television set, there was a guy on TV once a week called Paul Winchell. Paul Winchell was on television there, and I think I was 10 years old at the time. And I watched the show, and it really fascinated me how he made his character, Jerry Mahoney and Knucklehead Smith, come to life. So when I first saw the show, the very next day I tried to emulate what he did by taking my sister's discarded doll and jerry-rigging it, and did a MacGyver on it, and cut their mouth out and made it move with a rubber band and a straight pin and a string. And I was able to use that until I was able to buy, because I used to deliver newspapers and stuff like that, Detroit News. Didn't know the Detroit Times. and Detroit Free Press. And so I was able to go to the magic shop and buy my first Jerry Mahoney doll, or my first little doll from a magic shop. That was the beginnings.
Do you remember what that doll cost?
Oh, let's see. I can't remember. I know it was cheap because I was able to afford it. So it was like, well, back in those days, everything was cheap. It was like, I think it was about $8. I think.
Wow. So tell me about those next moments after you bought that doll and you started kind of looking at yourself in the mirror, if there was a mirror, and just started working on that process.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we had a mirror. We had to have a mirror. Back in those days, the mirror was key. But nowadays you can use video or iPhones and stuff like that. This is a different world now. But back then you had to look in the mirror and try to talk without moving your lips and stuff like that. I remember coming home from school every day and practicing. And I would go in the little room off the little den that we had there, and practice the same thing over and over again. I was practicing the same thing over and over again, and to see if I could get to the point of being a ventriloquial correct, if that's a particular word. So I would do that over. And my mom she was in the little den area. She was ironing. And I was saying the same stuff over and over again. She said, "Wait a minute, can you give it a rest now?" Because, it's like somebody learning a song. You're just singing the thing over and over and over and over again. It's good for you, but the people are listening to it and going, "Hey, wait a minute, give me a break." One of those deals.
So you practiced, and then what opportunity came up for you to show your stuff?
Well, growing up in Detroit they used to have amateur shows in theaters around Detroit there. And so I would enter the amateur shows. And those amateur, it was like what they would do in the theaters, they would show a Class B movie. And then at the end of the movie, the stage would light up and the lights would come on. And so it was live entertainment. So what we do, they would have an amateur show. And then at the end of the amateur show, they would have a professional act come on. A professional act could be a regional act or a local act that everybody knew, that kind of situation. I remember working, one of my first gigs was like at doing the amateur shows was with a group called Hank Ballard and the Midnighters. And Hank Ballard was he was the one that, Hank Ballard wrote the twist.
Oh, wow.
And Chubby Checker covered it years later and made it really big, But back then, it was Hank Ballard and the Midnighters, and they would close the shows. But what I would do is like when you went on as an amateur show, because the audiences, they were really rowdy. When you walked out there, it was kind of scary because, you walked out there and you got heckling and all that kind of stuff, and booing and popcorn boxes thrown at you and stuff like that. So, and at the end of the amateur portion of the shows, they would line all the amateurs up, and the MC would hold his hand over each amateur, and the people would applaud or boo or whatever. And the one that got the loudest amount of applause, if you will, would be the winner. So, but I would go every time I'd do it. Every time I did it, it was very traumatic because I'd go home and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. That's kind of scary. Then 2 weeks later, I'd go and do it again. So I kept doing it, and then I start winning. So it's like a situation. So that was the foundation.
So tell me about that first time that you went on that amateur stage, because people can't. 9.5 out of 10 people will never know what it feels like to go on that stage. You luckily didn't go on all by yourself, but what was it like that very first time?
Well, it's almost like being all by myself because when I walked out with this little homemade doll, it's like the audience would go, "What is this?" One of these deals. And I didn't have an act. I just went out and just talked. Until the heckling got too loud, and one of those deals. So it was And then later on, I formatted the act in such a way that I was able to do particular things, and instead of just going out and ad-libbing and just making stuff up, because they didn't want to hear that. The audience didn't want to hear that.
So how long do you think it was from the first time you got on stage until someone paid you any money at all to do it?
Well, let's see. With the amateur shows, you win if you won first prize, you get $6. Second prize is $4. Third prize is $2. But it was like a situation where I started. I think it was like it was after elementary school. I was in high school, and then I was able to do a particular. I would go and do shows at particular places, and they gave some money. It wasn't like a lot of money, but it was some money to do a performance and stuff like that. Because again, I wasn't professional. I was just I'm in high school and stuff like that. But when I started getting paid monies as a professional when I got out of the Air Force. I was in the Air Force, so I got out of the Air Force, and when we went back to Detroit, and that's when I started, because I wanted to be in show business. So I said I don't want to make it Air Force a career. So I did my 4 years, and I got out and went back to Detroit and said I'm going to try show business. And back then there were always a lot of venues to work. There were a lot of nightclubs. There are always places you can 7 days a week. You can go down you can walk down neighborhoods. And you can hear music coming from bars, especially in the summertime, because they always had the doors open, and you could hear music coming from the bars and people singing coming from the bars and stuff like that. So it was like a situation where the timing was just right back then. It's very difficult now, though.
What years do you think we were talking about when you're saying things were just starting to open up a little bit?
Let's see. Well, it was in the 60s. It was in the 60s. So it was a situation where the 60s and then the latter 60s and then into the 70s. And then, of course, we know about the 70s. The 70s, like when the comedy clubs started opening up.
That's right. So do you think Lester has the same memories about when you started to first make it big than you might have?
Well, it's like Lester came in three sizes. So it's like he might maybe because the first Lester was a little tiny, was a small Lester because I was small. Then later on, when I was about 16, I got the medium Lester. The medium Lester now is on display at the Van Haven in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, in the museum there.
Wow!
And then the large Lester came along. Large Lester came along when I got with Motown. When I got with Motown and worked with all the Motown acts and emceeing the shows and stuff like that. So I had to get a larger Lester because we were working larger venues, and you couldn't see the medium Lester from the balcony in these theaters. So I got the Lester that's around now.
So can I ask Lester his memories? Can we bring him on? Because
hang on a second, let me see if
is he around?
Yeah, he's around. Who am I talking to? Oh, you're talking to Bruce.
Hey, my name is Bruce Starr, Lester. It's very nice to see you again.
You heard a lot about you.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Let's hear your side.
So I want to hear your side, Lester, because I want to know when things started getting very interesting, other than making $10, $15, $20, $25 a shot. When did life start getting interesting? Because, you have to make some money and you have to have a little bit of fame.
I'm supposed to make money?
Well,
hey, he didn't tell me. And then you owe me some money, huh? That's okay. Don't worry about it. But yeah, it was a situation where we would work nightclubs around, and we worked strip joints. You got to get in the picture. Yeah. We worked strip clubs, and when we were in town, and we were had time on our hands, right? Yep.
Lester, so were you allowed into strip joints?
Yeah. That's why my eyes got so big. Love it, man. Yeah, so we would work the strip clubs, and again, back in those days, it was like Oh, we don't work a lot of strip clubs, but it was like what's that club? Oh, Brass Rail. So I had him say that because it begins with a B. It's hard to say these.
Oh,
Oh. Anyway, so it was like the Brass Rail, and it was a situation where they had comics. They had strippers all night long, but they had back then they had a trio, and the musicians union said the trio had to have a break three times a night, and so they had a comic go up there. They always hire comics to go up there and do 30 minutes, 3 times a night, and that was traumatic too, right? Yeah, because people would and the stage was behind the bar. It's a big room, but the stage was up behind the bar, and this, of course, the strippers would dance up there, and it was a better view for the people around who were sitting at the bar and people with the tables in the back and stuff like that. But when the comics would go up, the people didn't really heckle them, but they throw pennies on stage.
oh.
Yeah. All of a sudden you're trying to do your show, and all of a sudden, cling. That was the last that we got. And so it was an interesting kind of situation. But I'm glad it was a situation where we went through that, and I'm glad we went through that because it was experience. It was a great experience, right? Right. Okay.
So Lester, what was it like when you first started getting a little famous and people might have passed you on the street and started recognizing you?
If they passed me on the street and recognized me,
Yes.
I was a treat. I don't do the streets.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. Understand? That's a little levity.
Oh, that was a joke. Okay.
There's a little levity there.
So what was it like to get famous?
Let's see. It's the idea. What happens was like people would always ask about Lester because when they would see me without Lester, they would say, "Where is he?" Kind of situation, And people would when they would come by the house, they would when kids would come by the house, they would always walk in and they would always look around and down, like Lester's supposed to be what? I'm still walking around in the house. But that's good. It shows it's working. It's working. Yes, working. It's working. So that was cool. So as the idea is like helped me a great deal in high school because so I said, well, get into variety shows. I wanted to get into variety shows, and so I did the variety shows, and people knew who we were. So that helped me a great deal.
So here we are entering the 70s, and 70s were an incredible opportunity for comedians, and you are a comedian. It's just a slightly different kind of comedian, Lester. You got a chance, Lester, to work places like the Comedy Store on Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, we were there. Actually, we were at the Comedy Store when it first opened in 1972. So 1972, the opening night. That's it's like Sammy Shore. We were at Sammy Shore at the door there. And he said, "Willie, I got this club. Just want to come in and do some time. We going to jail? No. It's like so because he knew who I was because I was at that particular time I was doing Laugh-In, the very last season of Laugh-In. We were regulars on Laugh-In. So I was out there and I lived across the street from the Comedy Store, a place called Sunset Towers.
Oh yeah.
And so I was always walk over there every night, and so we started doing particular spots there at the Comedy Store, right? Mm-hmm. And then of course we would travel around and go to other places and we would go to Vegas and it's called the Silver Circuit, meaning Silver Circuit, meaning like it was like Lake Tahoe, Vegas, Reno. And then much later on, it was like Atlantic City.
So I want to take a little bit of a step back because very few people got to be on.
Don't fall down.
Thank God I'm sitting. But very few people got to be on Laugh-In. I mean, the people that were on Laugh-In, they stayed on Laugh-In. Everybody got very famous. And you got to work with some incredible talent. Now, a quick word from one of our sponsors. Hey, gang, I've been told by a lot of the comedians I knew and represented during the 80s, I looked the same as I did 40 years ago. And come to think of it, I still have my thick brown hair and just a few wrinkles. But most importantly for me, by simply applying the completely safe human growth hormone homeopathic gel on my skin just 2 times a day, the depression and panic attacks I suffered from years ago were gone in just 2 weeks. And then I started deep sleeping for many hours at night. You can have the gel work for you too. To find out more, contact me at bruce@brucestarproductions.com.
Yeah, when we got on Laughing, it was the very last season. So it's like a lot of the regulars had gone. Goldie Hawn had gone. Quite a few people had gone, and Lily Tomlin was still there, and that the Ruth Buzzy, she was still there. Roy Martin, of course, Roy and Martin, they were there. So it was fun because we got to meet all the guest entertainers that came in to do the show. Because they had all celebrities come in and do. John Wayne was there. We met John Wayne. He was a big, tall dude.
Yeah.
John Wayne. Yeah, John Wayne. Yeah. Wasn't that him? Yeah. Met everybody. It was a nice environment to be in. It was at NBC in Burbank, California, which is gone now. Well, NBC is, I guess the building is still there, but it's not, the memories are not there. Memories. You got it? I got it.
So do you think it was the comedy club where agents, managers of some big stars that were working in Las Vegas, Atlantic City, is that where they first saw you? Maybe approached you after the show and said, I'm a manager for this one. I'm a manager for that one. How did that first come about?
No, it's a situation. By the time I got out to LA to do Laughing, it was a situation where we were pretty much signed with Motown. We were traveling all over the country and being with Motown and traveling, because at that particular time we were with an agency called William Morris. So we already had the agent. So they were doing the bookings. Do you remember William Morris?
Yeah, when I was an agent out there in the 80s, and I certainly do remember William Morris.
Okay, yeah. They're in New York too.
Yes, it's a big agency. Very, very big.
And Chicago. They were in Chicago. They had a little office in Chicago too. But there was but anyway, we were fortunate enough to get an agent like William Morris people, right? Right. And so pretty much stuff happened because they had the agencies, they had big acts. I mean, like movie stars and everything. They handle all kinds of entertainers, right? Right. Right. And so when somebody was going to work in Vegas, a singer working in Vegas, they needed an opening act. William Morris, they'd look through their catalog and say, wait a minute, let's see. Okay, Willie Tyler and Lester, how about him? We're working with Ann Margaret. You can work with Ann Margaret. So that's how things like that work. Tom Jones. I don't know. Tom Jones and William Morris? I don't know. But we will work with Tom Jones. Yeah. My Delilah.
So one of the most exciting, organizations of our time is Motown. And you said that you traveled with Motown. I would love to hear about what it was like to travel with some of those big Motown stars. Lester, you can kick in anytime you want.
We go on the bus. We always travel on the bus, right? Right. So it's like and the whole show was on the bus, except I think Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder he had a tutor, so he traveled separately. But it's a situation where, and the Four Tops, they traveled separately too. They had the station wagon. But all of us, Diana Ross Supremes, Temptations, let's see, Marvelettes, what's the what? What they call the broken hearted? Jimmy Ruffin. We're all on the same bus, plus the band. We're all, we're self-contained, and it was a lot of driving and traveling. But once we got to the venues and we went on, we were in Hog's heaven. Hog heaven. It's hog heaven, not hogs, not plural. Hog heaven. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate you
Thank you.
straightening that out.
Yeah, it's okay.
So,
It might come up in a conversation one day,
hmm.
and you go, "Oh, I know what that means." Lester told me.
So, Willie, do you have memories and stories that you can share about those times that really nobody else would be able to share because you were backstage, traveling the same buses? Things that you can tell us about those
Well,
bands and groups that really nobody else would know?
we got the documentary. Oh, yeah. Actually, we got a documentary coming out too. And it's like, we don't want to be repetitive here, but it's like a situation where a lot of stuff happened that we talk about in a documentary. But it was the idea of traveling all over the place and going to different venues and going in and doing the sound checks and stuff like that. And then getting on the bus, and we would drive for hours on the bus. We were down in the Smoky Mountains. Smoky Mountains? Smoky Mountains, yeah. Smoky Robinson. No. Smoky Mountains. That's the bus. I mean, that was the area that we were in. Oh, okay. I know Smoky, though. I know Smoky. And so what happens, we were there, and it was the wintertime. And I remember we're looking out the window, and the bus was going around these curves. And these roads, they were in the mountains, but they didn't have any railings. So the bus driver had to drive very carefully, or you would slide off the mountain, kind of situation. So those particular things kind of woke us up, right? I was in a suitcase one night, and it scared me.
Did you guys have a favorite group that you just loved, either working with a star or a group?
No, all the Motown people we loved. It was like a situation where it's like Motown was a family. It was like a situation where we just enjoyed everything, kind of situations. And then later on, we were able to work with Sammy Davis Jr. and Dolly Parton and stuff like that. And since we would go on and do the shows and come off, and then I would always come back up and stand in the wings there and watch the performers, the headliners, the Dolly Partons and the Sammy Davis Juniors, and even Frank Sinatra. We worked with Frank Sinatra too. But it was like the situation where we would watch them from the wings, because we had to watch them from the wings because you couldn't go out front because it's sold out. There's no seat. I mean, you could, plus you're on the show. You don't want to go out in the audience, kind of situation. So it was better out, back in the wings than watching that particular thing. And then also Dolly Parton sing, "I'll always love you," that song. And that was her key song. And it was, kind of brought tears to your eyes every time I heard her sing it. Sammy Davis Jr., Mr. Bojangles. It's an interesting thing about Sammy, because when he was in the wings and the spotlight hit him, it's like, because back in those days, people smoked a lot. So that might have had something to do with it. But when the spotlight hit him, there's an aura. There's an aura around him. It could have been a smoke.
Wow.
Or it could have aura. It could, yeah, that's right. But it was interesting to see this little man on stage and this circle around him.
Wow.
It wasn't special effects. It was just there.
Wow.
And,
I actually read his book, and what a life he lived. And
was it Yes I Can or something like that?
I think so, yeah. And I tell you, the challenges that he had to go through. You mentioned being in the armed forces, and he was in the armed forces as well, and he had a horrible time there. And
a lot of people have horrible times. It's like let's see, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Don't ask me, man, because you can't remember. I can't remember. He's gonna try to put that on me. Don't do it. Okay. Don't get. Anyway, this particular actor, who we can't think of his name, he went to do a series in Hawaii. He was going to start the series in Hawaii. And it's just like he went in, and when he got there, he didn't have a lot of money to have lodging. So this lady, she was she helped him out. She said, okay, but as soon as you start making some money, can you pay me? And what happened was, like, I think something happened with there's a writer's strike or something to that effect, where the show didn't get off the ground. So it's a situation where you keep doing it and doing it, but you can't just jump out and do things like the Jackson 5. It took a while for Michael Jackson to become, become a superstar, right? Yeah. And Michael Jackson, we used to wear the same clothes.
Did you ever work with him, Willie?
Michael Jackson, he was with Motown. I only ran into Michael one time. It was like at Motown Center in Detroit. And I was there one day for some kind of meeting, and I didn't have Lester with me. He came over. He was inquisitive. Says, "Where's the dummy?" Like, who's he talking to? Who's he talking to? He called me a dummy? No, I shouldn't have said that. Well, Michael called me a dummy? No, don't worry about it. Oh, and this, we gotta talk. Okay, we gotta talk. I'll get his clothes back. His clothes back? No, I can't get them back now. No, that was yesterday. And yesterday is gone. I know you're still thinking about that guy's name, right? Yeah, I'm thinking about it. See, I can tell we're psychic. We can read each other's mind. If we both sold our brains, yeah, you get more money for yours. I'd get more money for mine. Yeah, why? Because it hasn't been used. Okay.
What would you say was the highlight of your career? Some people can name it, they can visualize it, they can just say, man, I'm feeling on top of the world. What was that for you?
Well, one of the highlights we did the McDonald's commercials. We did a campaign of McDonald's commercials, and that was phenomenal. Because I think we did about four of them, right? Yeah, 4 of them, kind of, and that really helped us a great deal. And from that, we were able to get if you're flying on airplanes, you use those little magazines in the front seat, in the front pocket. The magazines always have stories in there, and they have and you can put the earphones on and listen to music when you're flying. Yeah. And I wrote songs and stuff like that. And I recorded a whole bunch of songs, and they put an interview in one of the airlines magazines where they interviewed me, and between the interviews, they played the songs. So people flying across the country, across the world could hear us on the airplane. And that helped us a great deal because we were able to work different places, different venues all over the place. So
you've probably worked all over the world.
All over the world where people could understand English.
Gotcha.
Well, we've been to all 50 states. But we've gone to a lot of places. But it's always, we would go to different countries, but there would be military bases where we do, like when I first got out of the service. I remember we did the USO shows. Went over to Germany, France, and Italy. Molto bene.
I bet you.
It's very good.
I bet you guys love the food over in Italy. Everybody loves the food in Italy.
Well, when we went to Italy, we went to Verona. We were going to Verona and Pisa. And I would just go in the spaghetti. I'd always go in. And I would always say, Mangiani. That's not spaghetti. No, but that means that's food. Yeah. Feels good. I never got the spaghetti.
Willie wouldn't let you have spaghetti?
No, I can't eat spaghetti. It's my mouth will stick.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't hold it.
Oh.
He's taking his in.
No, I feel bad. I mean, I love spaghetti and feel bad for someone that can't have spaghetti.
Yeah, Verona Pizza.
Yes, I've been there.
Yeah. And you've been. Did you see the Leaning Tower of Pisa?
I did. I did.
Oh, is that sign language?
I was leaning.
The Leaning Tower of Pisa. We went and saw that too, but the idea is like it wasn't. The tower wasn't that big. It's not that big because when you look at it and you think about it, and people tell you about it, you think it's a big, gigantic tower. But when you go there, it's a little tiny little tower. I mean, it's not tiny, but it was tiny. It was tiny. Right. Yeah.
You just started talking about a documentary. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Bruce. Tom Selleck.
Now, there you go. It was on the tip of my tongue also.
Tom Selleck. Yeah. He's the one that went to Hawaii and you got the Magnum PI and the show was delayed. The filming was delayed and stuff like that. And he had to pay, he had to pay the lady to stay where he stayed and stuff like that. It was like a situation where, of course, now he's a multimillionaire. That's the idea. Sometimes when things start, it doesn't start easy. It's not easy, And sometimes you have to really work at it. Work at it. Don't say no. Don't take no as an answer. Don't take no as an answer. No. Unless somebody says, "Do you have any money?" No. It'll work. But yeah, Tom Selleck, that kind of bugs me. But yeah. Well, you know about the TV show he has now, right? He's the district attorney in New York.
Yes.
He's been on. Yeah, I can't think of the name of it. Yeah.
I think it's been canceled. I think it just got canceled in the last year or so. But he had a very good run for many years.
Oh yeah. It doesn't matter. When you make that much money, who cares?
That's right. He's pretty comfortable, I think.
Yeah. It's like cancel me so I can get some rest. so I can spend more time with my money. What's his name? Jim Arness. Jim Arness was on Gunsmoke. Do a little trivia here now. Trivia. Yeah, trivia. Jim Arness. He did Gunsmoke for over 20 years. Now I watch Gunsmoke on TV.
Do you?
But can you imagine Jim Arness doing that show for 20 years? Can you imagine how many times he had to get on that horse and get off that horse? That's a lot of times for 20 years.
I haven't thought about it.
Next time you see one of those episodes, think about it. They got to do those scenes over and over again. You got to climb. You got to bring that leg over that saddle, and you got to do it like 15 times. But I guess it's the price is right. There it is.
There you go. When someone makes a lot of money for somebody else, they should show their appreciation. I'm sure Lester did something like that for you at some point.
Did I do that? Did I do something? Yeah.
You haven't gotten around to that yet?
Yeah, I noticed the background. I think I sent you a picture of when I was a kid and I had a Jerry Mahoney character, right? Right. Now that was taken at the school on the schoolyard. Now this is way back when, and the picture that we're standing in front of a brick wall. That's back then. That was so many years. That was before the comedy clubs had brick walls. Like you got a brick wall behind you, but it's like we were standing in front of a brick wall back about 50 something years ago. So it's like. Everything old is new again.
That's right. One of the interesting things, when we spoke before the show, is that you mentioned that there's going to be a documentary made, and I would love to let people know about that so they can look for it. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, it's a sizzle. You can go to it's a hello-dummy.com. Hello-dummy.com. Reason you put the dash in there because he forgets. I'm not forgetting. Don Rickles.
Yeah.
Don Rickles. If you go to the internet and you type in a hello dummy, you'll get Don Rickles. But if you put in, and we have an album too. The album we did at Motown was called Hello Dummy. And that was like years before Don Rickles did his album. the sizzle, the preview for the documentary is the link is like hello-dummy.com.
Gotcha.
And
But are you okay with somebody calling you a dummy, though? I don't know. I don't know. I might take exception to that.
well, the price was right.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Call me anything, but as long as the check clears.
All right. Okay, I'll remember that.
Yeah.
I'll remember that.
And you were gonna say, Bruce?
Well, hopefully,
You were gonna say something?
you started talking about a documentary about you guys. Can you tell us, other than what you did, is there something we can look forward to seeing, and what the documentary is about?
Yeah, documentary about a lot of entertainers that we work with down through the years. It has a lot to do with it, and a lot of history, and the highlights. And I don't think they're not no low lights, right? I know a guy named Lowlight. Yeah. Don't you remember Lowlight? No. I knew him. He didn't tell you his name? No. Okay. Well, anyway, I knew Lowlight. That was a highlight for me to know Lowlight.
You guys are known for your comedy act, and I know you're still out there in the world. And if I have anything to do with it in the future, we'll be doing some projects together on my 80s golden age of comedy tours. And you guys are just funny.
And Bruce, like basically, a lot of entertainers and stuff like that. A lot of people say to people, when are you going to retire? Entertainers, when you're doing live comedy or live performances or musicians, don't retire. You don't retire.
No.
You don't retire because it's something about going out there, getting in front of the lights come up, and then you hear the applause, and you go out there, and it makes you feel good. Makes you feel real. Like me.
It does. And listen, Lester, you look as good as you did years ago. So, you're still going to be in demand. You still look good.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's very nice of you. Appreciate that. I'm going to be a star. Because he said so.
Yeah, I definitely, you guys have it. And, we're coming out of this time of, I don't even want to mention 2020, but we're coming out of a time where people want to go out and see entertainment and see entertainers. And if I have anything to do with that, I hope that I'll be putting you guys out there to work. If Lester doesn't mind, I know Willie wants to do it, but if Lester doesn't mind, we'll get you out there in front of people again.
Hey, it's all right. It's all right. Put me on the road. I want to run into low light again.
All right. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for being on the show. This was so much fun. And I want to get to know you guys better. When I get your work down here in Florida, I'll be there. I'm going to come spend some nights with you wherever you're at.
I love Florida, but I can't stand that humidity.
Well, we'll try to get you down here when it's not so warm, like in the late fall.
No. I can't stand the humidity because it makes my wood expand.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that might not be so bad.
No, he loves Florida. He just wanted to tell a joke.
Okay. All right. You know what? If you'd like to give a special hello right now that we can use in a little segment to let people know about you guys coming down here to Florida, the camera's yours.
Hey, this is Willie Tyler. This is Lester. We're headed for Florida pretty soon. So hope to see you there. Where? Florida, Hollywood, Tampa, and all the other places, right? Yeah, all the other places in between. So hang in there. See you soon.
Perfect. Beautiful. Thank you. Guys, you're the best. And I really, really love getting to know you better, and we'll get to know you better as time goes on. Thank you for your time, for being on the show. And
I'd like to thank Joey Kamen too for letting turning us on to you guys.
Joey introduced us a couple of years ago when I had him on to talk about his book. So thank you again. God bless. We'll see you all again soon. Thank you, everybody, for watching the 80s golden age of comedy. Willie, Lester, you guys have been great. God bless.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Now, a quick word from one of our sponsors. Hey, gang, I've been told by a lot of the comedians I knew and represented during the 80s, I looked the same as I did 40 years ago. And come to think of it, I still have my thick brown hair and just a few wrinkles. But most importantly for me, by simply applying the completely safe human growth hormone homeopathic gel on my skin just 2 times a day, the depression and panic attacks I suffered from years ago were gone in just 2 weeks. And then I started deep sleeping for many hours at night. You know, you can have the gel work for you too. To find out more, contact me at bruce@brucestarproductions.com.